5:40. So in the morning lecture, we have seen what is rigid body, what is the flexible body. So after the application of the force, the intermolecular force between intermolecular distance between the particles of the body does not change, then it is called as rigid body. And if it changes, then it is called as flexible body. Engineering mechanics elaborate from the two parts, that is statics and dynamics, where statics is the study of the rigid body at rest, whereas the dynamics is nothing but the study of those rigid bodies when they are in moving condition. The body which is moving with a constant acceleration is an example again of the dynamics. So you have to study statics and dynamics, right, in detail for getting the 14 marks. So we have started with the basic definition of the force. It is a vector quantity. Anything that tends to change the state of rest of the body is called as force. So the unit is Newton or kilonewton, and 1 Newton is equal to 1 kg meter per second square. To define a force, we need magnitude, direction, and point of application. So that is one MCQ, a favorite MCQ of any of that particular examiner, that the force is defined by what? It is defined by magnitude, it is defined by direction, and it is also defined by point of application. All the three things are needed to define a force. Either of the thing is not known, then we cannot define the force correctly. Then we have seen, if we wanted to calculate what is the effect of the force on the other point, right, other than that particular point where it is acting, then that particular force will produce what you call it as a moment. Moment is defined as it is a product of magnitude of a force and the perpendicular distance between the point at which you are calculating the moment and the line of action of the force. So it is again a vector quantity, and it is having a two sense, or it will give the rotation to the body. The clockwise and anti-clockwise are the two possibilities of the movements, and it is having the unit as Newton meter. Then we have seen some small notes like movement will give turning effect to the body. Movement vector is always normal to the plane in which the forces are placed. And then we have seen the sign convention. If the force is going towards right, it will be positive, left will be negative, upward will be positive, downward will be negative. The clockwise movement will be negative, anti-clockwise will be positive. And then we have seen what are the orthogonal force system, ज्याच्यामध्ये आपण असं डिसाइड केलेलं आहे की ज्याच्या बरोबर अँगल दिला आहे तो कंपोनंट कॉस आणि दुसरा साइन. So orthogonal force system for two-dimensional force system, fx in this particular case will be f cos theta, and in this particular case fy will be f sin theta. And then we are expected to calculate the effect of all these forces at some point. Then we are calculating the equilibrium of the forces. So next part will be the definition of the equilibrium, where we have seen the resultant of all these forces will be root of fx square plus fy square. Then alpha will be summation of tan inverse of summation fy by fx. And if we add the amount of resultant in opposite direction to the force system, then it is called as equilibrant. So you can see over here the definition of the resultant. It can be a force or a movement, and a definition of this particular resultant is nothing but it is a single action which will produce the same effect that of the system of the forces. या सगळ्या फोर्सेसचा एकत्र इम्पॅक्ट म्हणजे काय, तर रिझल्टंट. आणि त्या रिझल्टंटच्या अपोजिट डायरेक्शन मध्ये सेम मॅग्नेट्यूडचा जर फोर्स तुम्ही इंट्रोड्यूस केला त्या फोर्स सिस्टीम मध्ये, तर त्याच्यामध्ये जे काय तयार होतं त्याला आपण इक्विलिब्रियंट असं म्हणतो. हेन्स इक्विलिब्रंट is equal in magnitude as that of the resultant, but it is having opposite in the direction. So then there is a definition of equilibrium. Many times it has been asked that the state of rest is nothing but equilibrium when all the forces acting on the body equal and oppositely balanced. We are calling it as the equilibrium condition. And for the system to be in equilibrium, all the resultant forces must be equal to zero in all the direction. Then we have seen transmissibility of the force. The force can be transferred anywhere in the line of action, right, by keeping the direction constant and the angle which is made by that particular force either with respect to horizontal or vertical constant. Then this particular force can be transferred. The principle is called as principle of transmissibility of the force. Then if you are need to transfer the force not along the line of action, in that particular case, the force can be transferred as it is with magnitude at that particular point where you are intended to transfer it. In addition to that force, if you are not transferring the force along the line of action of the force, in that particular case, you are supposed to calculate at that particular point what is the effect of the force, and the effect of the force other than the line of action of that particular force is termed as its movement. त्यामुळे जर आपल्याला फोर्स हा त्याच्या लाईन ऑफ ऍक्शनच्या व्यतिरिक्त दुसरीकडे कुठंतरी आपल्याला ट्रान्सफर करायचा असेल तर तो फोर्स ऍज इट इज ट्रान्सफर करा आणि त्याच्यामुळे तयार होणारी मुवमेंट ही कॅल्क्युलेट करून त्या ठिकाणी मांडणं गरजेचं आहे, सो दॅट इट विल गिव्ह द करेक्ट आन्सर अँड इट विल फॉर्म अ फोर्स कपल सिस्टम. So force is transferred not along its line of action. It is necessary to calculate force couple system to produce the same effect on that particular body. Movement or a couple can be transferred anywhere in the plane to produce the same effect on the body. So this is very important characteristic of a movement or a couple, that it can be transferred anywhere only in that particular plane where this particular forces are acting. Then we have seen two-dimensional force system, three-dimensional force system. As its name suggested, if the forces are along x and y direction only or any two axes, then we are calling it as two-dimensional force system. Then if it is there in the third direction also, which is there in nature, we are calling it as the space forces. Also, we are calling it as three-dimensional force system. So in that we have seen CFS, PFS and GFS, concurrent force system, parallel force system and generalized force system. When all the forces are passing through a single point, we are calling it as the point of concurrency, and the force system is called as concurrent force system. So the resultant in that particular case does exist and it is necessarily to be a force. कनकरंट फोर्स सिस्टीम मध्ये जर रिझल्टंट कॅल्क्युलेट करायचा झाला तर तो पॉइंट ऑफ कन्करन्सी मधनच जाणार आणि आणि तो फक्त फोर्सच असणार, तो मुवमेंट असू शकत नाही, कारण when all the forces are passing through single point, then movement does not exist in such type of system. Therefore you can say that this is the characteristic of CFS. Then resultant force will pass through the same point of concurrency. You may feel that why all such things are needed in greater depths. Again and again, I am saying for the preparation of MPSC exam, especially for pre-exam, which is there for 14 marks for engineering mechanics. Last three paper, if you see, almost 70% of the question was theoretical. So all it depends upon whether you are getting this particular concepts or not will define whether you can answer these questions or not. So this particular thing should be read properly आणि कंटिन्युअसली त्याचं वाचन असणं गरजेचं आहे. सो आफ्टर एव्हरी 7 days यू शुड हॅव बेसिक कन्सेप्ट क्लिअर. हे जे पहिले 2-3 लेक्चर होणार आहेत त्याचे बेसिक कन्सेप्टच्या नोट्स ज्या आहेत त्या तुम्ही कमीत कमी दर आठवड्याला एकदा वाचणं अत्यंत गरजेचं आहे. इन CFS we have seen the resultant force will pass through the same point of concurrency and body can be idealized as a particle. As you know, in PFS and GFS, that is parallel force system and generalized force system, we cannot idealize body as a particle. Why? Reason being, all the forces are not passing through single point, which was there in CFS. Therefore, it is the only case, that is concurrent force system, in which we can definitely say that body can be idealized as a particle. So when you are drawing the free body diagram is the diagram which is drawn, right, for a body acting as a particle. Therefore, when we are drawing that particular body as a particle, we are considering this particular effect of those forces acting as a particle. So if you are drawing the free body diagram for aeroplanes, yesterday only we have taken this particular example. So for that, we can consider, if all the forces are passing through single point, we can consider complete aeroplane as a single particle. But if there are more than forces which are passing through, different points of the aeroplane, we cannot idealize that particular aeroplane as a single particle. Therefore, it is a need of the hour. For example, if you see when two ropes are connected to each other, right, and if we apply the force at the bottom, then whatever force system which will be generated at the center where it is connected, we are calling it as a concurrent force system. All the forces are passing through single point. So I can idealize that particular point as a particle, which is not the possibility in case of the parallel force system and generalized force system. Then equations of equilibrium in two-dimensional force system are summation fx equal to 0 and summation fy equal to 0. Then three-dimensional force system, then it will have the uh, additional, you can say, equation. We are calling it as summation z is equal to 0. Then we have came up to this parallel force system when forces are parallel to each other. The distance between the two forces is constant throughout its line of action of force. We are calling it as parallel forces. There are two possibilities in parallel forces. One, both the forces or all the forces which are having perpendicular distance between them same, they are going or heading towards the same direction. We are calling it as like parallel forces. And if they are not heading towards the same direction, the arrows are different, but the distance between the forces is keeping constant throughout that particular plane, then we are calling it as unlike parallel forces. The resultant of such forces can be a force or it can be a movement. Very important point, right? रिझल्टंट हा CFS मध्ये फक्त फोर्सच असू शकतो, पण PFS मध्ये पॅरल फोर्स सिस्टीम मध्ये इट इज नेसेसरीली कॅन बी अ फोर्स ऑर अ मुवमेंट. कारण सगळे फोर्सेस एकाच पॉइंट मधनं जात नाहीये. मुवमेंट पॉसिबिलिटी आहे. मुवमेंट म्हणजे फोर्स मल्टिप्लाय बाय परपेंडिक्युलर डिस्टन्स. देअरफॉर resultant force can be a force or a moment. Body cannot be idealized as a particle, very important thing. So in parallel force system and generalized force system, this is not the possibility to idealize the body as a particle. And if the resultant is a force, its line of action is to be located by a well-known Varignon's theorem, which can be used for parallel force system or generalized force system. Then we can observe the equations of equilibrium. Two-dimensional force system, summation fx equal to 0, summation fy equal to 0, summation mz equal to 0. I think 2017 or 18 paper of MPSC, that is pre-civil, this particular question has been asked, ki, what are the two-dimensional GFS equations of equilibrium. आणि त्याच्या ठिकाणी ऑप्शन्स दिले होते fx0, fy0, m0. त्याच्यानंतर खाली अजून ऑप्शन्स दिले होते fz equal to 0. टू डायमेन्शनल म्हटल्यानंतर fz will not come into picture. So such type of questions can be drafted. So you should be prepared yourself in such a way that you can answer all these questions properly. So basic concepts are very important. Generalized force system, when forces are neither parallel nor passing through single point, it is non-concurrent, then it is called as generalized force system. You can observe in this particular diagram, F1, F2, F3, F4, F5 are the forces and the movement is M. So those are not passing through a single point, therefore those are non-concurrent forces. And in addition to that, they are not having the perpendicular distance between them as not constant. Therefore, we can definitely say that this is a generalized force system. So all the three things or four things which we have discussed in the parallel force system applicable as it is for the generalized force system. So body cannot be idealized as a particle was the first point. Second point, if we wanted to calculate the resultant can be a force or a moment, right? Then the resultant, if you wanted to calculate its line of action, Varignon's theorem is required. So that is all. And then two-dimensional force system, for GFS and for PFS, all the equations remaining same. Only the addition of the moments will be there. So this is all about the types of forces. I am strictly sticking to the syllabus which is given by MPSC. And MPSC is saying that forces, types of forces, and then they are concentrating on calculation of resultant. आता resultant जर calculate करायचा असेल, if there is a single force, what will be the resultant of that particular force? That force only. If there exist two forces, the resultant can be calculated by using the law of parallelogram, or the resolution of forces can also be done by calculation of R is equal to root of fx square plus fy square. You can calculate the resultant. If you want to calculate the resultant of three forces, then we will go with the Lami's theorem. If you wanted to calculate the forces which are more than three, we have to go what you call it as the resolution of the force concept. Therefore, while calculating the resultant of a force, you must first understand how many number of forces are there. So there are various theories which are there, various you can say derivations which are there for the calculation of the force, out of which the first, which is given by the law of parallelogram, when two forces are represented by adjacent side of the parallelogram, then the resultant in the magnitude and direction is given by the diagonal passing through a common point. The word diagonal passing through a common point is very important, right? Don't forces are still, they are acting as the adjacent side of the parallelogram. For example, one force is q, other force is again q. Magnitude same आहे दोन्ही forces ची. They are passing through single point, but their directions are different. Those are acting as a adjacent sides of parallelogram. Then their resultant can be calculated by diagonal passing through their common point, and that resultant is having the magnitude. You can observe over here, this is the P force and Q force. The resultant is passing through the common point, and it is having the value R is equal to root of P square, or rather P square plus Q square plus 2PQ cos theta. How this particular formula came, you can observe over here. So I have just resolved these two forces, taken the summation of x equation fy, and by using the formula R is equal to root of fx square plus fy square, it can be easily proved that R is equal to root of P square plus Q square plus 2PQ cos theta, and alpha is equal to tan inverse of P sin theta upon P cos theta plus Q. आता बऱ्याचदा मी सांगितलेलं आहे तुम्हाला सगळ्यांना की एमपीएससी मध्ये किंवा कुठल्याही ऑब्जेक्टिव्ह टाईपच्या क्वेश्चन मध्ये म्हणजे कुठल्याही परीक्षेमध्ये पाठांतराला एवढं महत्व नाही. कन्सेप्ट क्लिअर असल्यानंतर तुम्हाला इझिली त्या गोष्टी सॉल्व्ह करता येतील, पण काही गोष्टी ह्या पाठ केल्याशिवाय पर्याय नाही. त्यापैकी ही गोष्ट आहे, यू शुड नो लॉ ऑफ पॅराग्राम फॉर्म्युला, यू शुड नो अल्फा, द अँगल which is made by the resultant with respect to what, with respect to horizontal, राईट. हॉरिझॉन्टल फोर्सशी त्यांनी अल्फा जो अँगल केलेला आहे क्यू फोर्सशी, तो क्यू फोर्सशी अँगल जो केलाय त्याला तुम्हाला डिनॉमिनेटरला ठेवायचा आहे, आणि पी फोर्सला त्या ठिकाणी न्यूमरेटरला ठेवायचं. सो पी साइन थिटा अपॉन क्यू कॉस थिटा, पी कॉस थिटा प्लस क्यू इज द फॉर्म्युला फॉर द calculation of alpha. There are a number of examples which can be there for this particular you can say law of parallelogram. Like in one of the MPSC, it has been asked that one force is Q, other force is root 2 times Q, right? The resultant is also given. Then what will be the angle between these two forces? One type of question will be two forces are given, angle is given, what will be the result? So once for all रिझल्टंटचा फॉर्म्युला पाठ करणं आवश्यक आहे. वन्स फॉर ऑल अल्फाचा फॉर्म्युला पाठ करणं आवश्यक आहे. अँड देन देर विल बी when three forces acting, they are concurrent, they are passing through single point, then there is a Lami's theorem which is generally used when three concurrent forces are in equilibrium. The word equilibrium is very important. Many of times the people are applying the Lami's theorem without consideration of this particular word equilibrium. When all the forces are passing through a single point, right, and if they are said to be in equilibrium, then and then this particular Lami's theorem can be applicable. The magnitude of the force to the sine of angle between the other two forces is constant. Kasa theorem hai ba? This is the theorem, right? You can observe PQR are the forces with angle alpha, beta and gamma. If you are considering P force, P divided by sine of angle between other two, जर P घेतला तर बाकीचे दोन फोर्सेस Q आणि R मधला अँगल अल्फा, so sin alpha is equal to, if you are taking Q, sine of angle between P and R, that is beta. if you take the r divided by sine of angle between p and q, that is gamma, this is also called as sine rule, and the ratio remains constant. This is very important. P upon sine alpha is equal to Q upon sine beta is equal to R upon sine gamma. This ratio remains constant. This is called as the sine rule, or you can also call it as a Lami's theorem. Now on the basis of this, I'm having one video which is uploaded by me with Dr. Kharat, right? I hope you can able to see this particular video through your shared window. So this is the video. You can observe this.
Alien 2. Today again we have Raviraj with us, and again we learning engineering mechanics. Today we'll be discussing something related to resolution of forces. Raviraj, what do you think to understand now? Resolution.
So whatever, so whatever, so 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 this is the link which is there, engineering mechanics resolution of forces quiz, which is there, which is available on Vastu Ved channel, and you can log in through this particular Vastu Ved channel, and then definitely you can see some engineering mechanics videos over there. In addition to this, there is one more video, that is Lami's theorem, which was very popular, crossed more than 1,50,000. Then we have again uploaded this particular video, and right now I think it is 43,000 views already, which is there for this particular Lami's theorem, where I explain what is the Lami's theorem. So this is the theorem which is explained uh, by me, some of the examples which are there. So these are the two videos that is need to be watched when you come for the next lectures. So just take it down. Vastu Ved is the channel, engineering mechanics Lami's theorem, and you can observe me delivering the lecture along with Dr. Kharat. So uh, again we will go back to the our actual presentation. I hope that you are all with me. So when you are so when so when you are expected to calculate uh, the graphically what will be the value of this particular resultant force, this is the way in which you can calculate it. So by using the area concept, movement of a force can be calculated the twice of this particular area. So area of the triangle will be area half into base into height. So from by using this particular formula, you can calculate the movement of a force, which is equal to twice the area of the triangle. Those base is represented by force and apex is represented by the movement center. So movement can be calculated graphically also by using this particular method. There are less chances actually of asking of this particular example, but you should know, if I wanted to calculate movement of a force by using graphical method, how to calculate it. It can be calculated by calculating its area formed by that particular triangle of these forces. Then comes a very important theorem which is known as Varignon's theorem. This Varignon's theorem has been uh, there for calculating for GFS. As you know, if you wanted to calculate what will be the line of action of force, where it will be acting, as you know, the for the GFS you should know the resultant force, and that resultant force is having defined by magnitude, direction, and point of application. For concurrent force system, the resultant will pass through the point of concurrency. For parallel force system and generalized force system, you are expected to calculate what will be the direction of that particular resultant and where it will act, and that where it will act, the answer will be given by the Varignon's theorem. It states that the movement of a resultant force at a point is equal to the algebraic sum of its component about the same point. So if you wanted to calculate the line of action of resultant of parallel force system and generalized force system, you should use what you call it as this particular uh, Varignon's theorem. So you can observe this particular theoretical part is there, the derivation is there, how to calculate this particular Varignon's theorem. We are interested in this end product, that is nothing but the moment of R is equal to moment of P plus moment of Q at point O. So when we solve some examples, this particular point will get clear, but in your mind you should be there that Varignon's theorem is used for the Varignon's theorem is used for the calculation of what you call it as the line of action of the resultant for PFS and GFS. So I hope that you are getting the things which are there. Then the Bowes notations which are there for graphical representation. I think Bowes notation is the notations which are generally used to represent the force by graphical method. You should keep in mind that this is the notation generally used. So Bowes notation, uh, uh, you should know Bowes notation, how to calculate the graphical representation of the force and force system. So that is the part which was there. In the last 10 minutes are there, so I wanted to discuss one important point which is there, that is types of loads. So I'm sticking to the syllabus which is given by MPSC, and that the next point is types of loads. So as you know, there are basically three types of loads. One is called as point load, second is called as uniformly distributed load, and third is called as uniformly varying load. So if the load is acting, or the force is acting about a point, at a point, then it is called as a point load. So these loads act on a very small area as compared to the structural dimensions, hence it is treated as point load. So for example, if I wanted to calculate the force which is there, right? For example, if this is the force, if this is the body, and on which I am applying the force, if I am applying the force like this, so the force which is acting by my this particular finger on this particular remote, this will act as a point load, right? But if I put this particular remote on something like this, so this will act as a uniformly distributed load. And if some part of this particular load is more as compared to the other, it is called as uniformly varying load. So UDL, UVL, these are the various distributed loads which are there. And then uh, how to calculate, rather while drawing the FBD, you should convert all the UDL and UVL into point load. Now what is the meaning of conversion? Many a times even our faculty members used to teach that UDL म्हणजे काय, तर UDL च्या वरती जे काय लिहिलेलं असेल त्याला लेंथनी मल्टिप्लाय करा आणि त्याचा ट्रान्सफर करा पॉइंट लोड वरती, राईट? किंवा ट्रायंगल असेल तर हाफ इंटू बेस वरती जे दिसेल ते आणि खाली लेंथ दिसेल ते त्याला मल्टिप्लाय करा आणि त्याचा पॉइंट लोड मध्ये कन्वर्जन करा. बट whatever I am going to tell you, that you have to listen it very carefully आणि ते remember केलं पाहिजे for lifelong, that conversion of UDL and UVL into point load is nothing but calculating its area and center of gravity. कोणाचा एरिया आणि कोणाची सेंटर ऑफ ग्रॅव्हिटी? UDL चा एरिया आणि UVL चा एरिया आणि त्याचीच सेंटर ऑफ ग्रॅव्हिटी. म्हणजे UDL म्हणजे काय, जर आपण बघितलं, जर फॉर एक्झाम्पल दिस इज द लाईन डायग्राम, यू कॅन सी, राईट? This is uniformly distributed load. Can you able to see? Yes. So UDL, uniformly distributed load. If I wanted to convert it into point load, how I can? I wanted to calculate its area. Now what will be the area of rectangle? L multiplied by B. So over here L is L and B is W. That is the intensity of uniformly distributed load. So I will be actually calculating the area of this particular rectangle. And that area is nothing but the intensity of the point load. And where it will act? It will act at the center of gravity. Center of gravity of this diagram. Now center of gravity of this particular diagram will be L by 2, B by 2. I want the line of action of force. So the force is acting in vertically downward direction, so I don't need B by 2, I will be needing L by 2. So conversion of UDL or UVL into point load is nothing but finding out its area, which will represent, when you convert it to point load, the intensity of that particular load, and where it will act at its center of gravity. हे जर लक्षात ठेवलं तर तुम्हाला UDL UVL चे कन्वर्जन मध्ये कधीही गडबड होणार नाही. Right? So this is the triangular uniformly varying load. You can observe a triangle having intensity W kilonewton per meter, having the base as L. So what will be the converted point load intensity and where it will act? Again, the concept will remain same. You should calculate its area and center of gravity. So area of the triangle is given by half into base into height. So half into L into W, that will give you the area of this particular triangle. It will act at the intensity of the point load, and where it will act at CG. So CG of the triangle is, where it is the CG, h by 3 from the base and 2h by 3 from the apex. So if I consider this as base and this as height, it will act h by 3, that is L by 3 from the base, and 2h by 3, that is 2 by 3 times L, that is from the apex. So this is the way in which you have to apply that particular conversion, that is nothing but finding out its area and center of gravity. The same concept over here. If there is a combination of UDL and UVL, then you should divide this particular part into two. One will be uniformly distributed load, regular diagram, you can calculate area of the rectangle, and second will be this area of the triangle, right? These two forces will act independently at their CGs, and their intensity will be area of that respective figure. Area of rectangle will act as a the converted point load intensity of the rectangle or UDL, and area of triangle will act as the intensity of the point load after conversion, right, for that particular triangle, and it will act according to their CGs. So you will never go wrong if you know all these things. So simple examples I given. If it is a UDL of 30 kilonewton per meter with a length of 4, how to convert it? Again, don't by heart it, go with the concept. Area of the rectangle, 30 multiplied by 4, 120. Intensity of point load will be 120. L by 2, B by 2, we are interested in length, so it will be 2 meters and 2 meters. This is a triangle. Generally for in soil we are calculating the earth pressure. So earth pressure diagram च conversion point load मध्ये करणं म्हणजे काय, तर हे असंच असतं. So in this way the intensity of this particular load is 50 kilonewton per meter acting as a 3 meters. So again, only the change is it is acting in the vertical direction, not in the horizontal direction. So according to the direction, you should apply the intensity of the converted load. Then there is some example related to inverted load, or the force which is exerted by soil on the foundation. This is the example of that. So what will be the converted point load? So in this way, you should solve n number of such examples, try to calculate the point loads, right? And then note that for non-linear loads, its equivalent point load and the position is obtained by integration. So if there is a curve instead of triangle, then it should be calculated by integration. For this purpose, again, I will share one video which is there. I think many of you have seen that particular video. That is engineering mechanics beams च्या नंतरचा एक व्हिडिओ आहे की आपण ज्यावेळेस ट्रायंग्युलर लोड आणि कर ज्यावेळेस वापरतो त्यावेळेस इंटिग्रेशन कशा ठिकाणी वापरायचं आहे. सो आजचा जे टास्क आहे तुम्हाला घरी गेल्यानंतर किंवा हे लेक्चर संपल्यानंतर सगळे घरीच आहेत, बट हे लेक्चर संपल्यानंतर की तुम्हाला त्या ठिकाणी हे सगळे युट्यूबचे व्हिडिओ जे आपण ऑलरेडी अपलोड केलेले आहेत 5-6 वर्षापूर्वी 10 वर्षापूर्वी, ते व्हिडिओज त्या ठिकाणी बघायचे आहेत. आणि आज संध्याकाळची 9 वाजता आपण एक टेस्ट घेणार आहोत. ती टेस्ट द्यायची आहे. जे रजिस्टर्ड कॅन्डिडेट्स आहेत त्यांना त्यांच्या मेल वरती त्या पर्टिक्युलर याची लिंक येईल. ती लिंक क्लिक करून तुम्ही गुगल फॉर्म सबमिट करायचा आहे, सो दॅट I can come to know whether whatever we have discussed in the morning lecture and evening lecture, is it clear to you or not. So I will be sending that particular link to those who have registered for that particular गुगल फॉर्म मध्ये ज्यांनी रजिस्ट्रेशन केलेलं आहे त्या लोकांना मी ती लिंक पाठवणार आहे. लास्ट 1 minute इज देअर. इफ यू आर हॅव्हिंग एनी डाऊट ऑन दिस टुडे सेशन, आय एम हिअर टू आन्सर. आज संध्याकाळी 9 वाजता सगळ्यांनी ती टेस्ट द्यायची आहे. सो आय होप दॅट एव्हरीवन इज विथ मी, राईट? थँक यू व्हेरी मच फॉर coming for this particular webinar. If you are having any question, I am there. Still 1 minute is remaining. Is there any question?